Hello everybody. Here we got some material. It's a little bit different. I called it, chapter 3-1, whatever. But what it is not in a textbook. Something a little bit different I put in here. Social motivation and emotion. Now this is social psychology, and it talks about social thinking, talks about social behaviors, and we'll get to all of that stuff. But more than just social thinking and social behaviors, I mean, we are social creatures. We are socially driven. We just need other people. It's just who we are. We find that right here on this opening slide here we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and as I'm sure you're familiar with, in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it starts at the bottom and it works its way up. And basically, what does Maslow argue is that human beings are driven to satisfy needs in the order from the bottom up. That is to say that people must satisfy physiological needs. That must be the first thing that they do. And if they manage to satisfy physiological needs, then and only then they'll be motivated to satisfy safety needs. If they satisfy safety needs, then we move into the social motivations. They satisfy the need for love, esteem, and ultimately self-actualization. But we see that social phenomena play a major role in the hierarchy. So we find that social development is something too. I mean, we are, again, we're born social creatures, right? Look at this: in infancy, trust versus mistrust. Infants learn to develop a basic sense of trust in their social world. They have to learn that the world is a place that they can trust. All right. Or in toddlerhood, autonomy versus self-doubt. They learn to exercise their will that they can control the world. Preschooler, initiative versus guilt. I mean, really, all of these stages of social development, as the infant develops, mirror your interactions with other human beings. Social development is in many ways related to moral development. I mean, it mirrors it. They're somehow separate, but they're more. And again, moral development is a decision of what is right and what is wrong. And again, it's not just decisions you make about your own sense of right and wrong, but decisions you make about others' senses of right and wrong. And so we find that this social development, which is going on, and we are very familiar with, I'm sure, through Erik Erikson's work, it is mirrored by this moral development as proposed by, who is this? This is, you know this guy's name. I don't remember his name. Kohlberg. That's it. Lawrence Kohlberg. And so he argues, that we define right and wrong at first based on nothing more than, basically reinforcement and punishment. If it feels good, it's a good thing. If it feels bad, it's a bad thing. But later, our sense of morality is based on things such as, is it good for the group? Okay? And later yet, it goes on and is something as moral if it's good for all of society or something like this. So we find that morality and moral development is clearly socially related. I don't know. Emotions are interesting too. There are some emotions, a few emotions, which are totally and utterly privately felt. But still, almost every emotion in the world has a social component. Okay? We find, say, for example, love. Love must have a social object. Joy must have an external. And what is joy without the ability to brag? All right? If you do something really wonderful, you feel happy about yourself. In fact, there was this really cool study. They were studying, they videotaped at a bowling alley, and they had two cameras. One facing, so that facing the bowler as they release the ball, and one facing from the back side, so you can see the back. And when a person would throw a strike, okay, the smile on their face did not start until they turned around and faced the other people. When they actually hit 10 pins, they went down, they watched them go down, smile didn't start yet. Turn around to your companions, then the smile hits. Okay? So we could talk about joy as somehow privately felt, but it's not. Okay? It's a social emotion. It's one that is so much better if it can be shared. Okay? Or anger. Obviously, anger has to have an object, a social object. Sadness, though, I mean, you could be sad because you lost your Pokemon card. So much of sadness, or true sadness, comes from loss of social relationships. Um, uh, the main evolutionary function of emotion is social communication. Yeah, you know what? They took very interesting. They took monkeys, and monkeys were going woo woo woo, whatever monkeys are doing, and they scan them, take a brain scan while they're going woo woo woo, and you're thinking, all right, those areas of the monkey's brain that are associated with communication are going to be active, but no, 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 no. Those areas of the brain that are associated with emotion were active. So when a monkey goes ooh ooh ooh, telling the other monkeys, hey, there's an eagle coming or some shit like that, their emotional centers are active. Well, that's what an emotion is, and it's an expression. All right, it's communication. If I go, you better be able to read that. All right, if you're a smart human, you can read that as "stay back, buddy," because there's some trouble. Okay. Oh, here's a bullish one. I didn't remember where I put it. It was a good one anyway. Oh yeah, this is pretty cool. Not only are our emotions social, but emotions spread in social networks. This is very cool. I'll have to. From personal experience, it may seem fairly evident that emotions are contagious. I remember countless times where I entered a happy environment and felt my happiness increase. Whatever. There was an interesting study that showed that if one person is sad, then the 1 degree of separation sadness is measurable. 2, 3, it got out to like 4 degrees of separation, and you could still measure the effects of one person back, and it was amazing how much they spread like this. Motivation, clearly that was the point of coming here, and I already said Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But what we find is that people everywhere are, the bottom is just purely personally felt, but after that, as you get higher, it's socially based. Now, the main theory in motivation research is a little bit funky, but I'm going to put it out there. Okay, that is to say that we have these needs inside of us. That is like a homeostatic mechanism. Okay, that is to say, the thermostat in your house. All right, it's set at, let's say it's summer. I set it at 80 degrees, and so the thermostat wants the house to be 80 degrees, and so 80 is its reference. It's desired state, something like this. So now there's a reference input. 77 degrees in the house, 80 is desired, do nothing. 78 in the house, 80 desired, do nothing. 81 in the house, 80 desired, do something, buddy. Get me back down below that 80, because that's the point I want to be at. Now, your hunger could be thought of in the same way. I have a certain level of hunger, or more specifically, things like blood glucose level. I have a desired level, and as long as the actual is higher than the desired, well then do nothing. But when the actual falls below the desired, then kick in a mechanism, not your furnace obviously, but kick in a mechanism, triggering eating behavior. And so motivation is literally a comparison system between what I want and where I'm at. Okay? And so we could use the same type of an analogy to talk about food, and we could talk about water, and I guess you could talk about SEX, I guess, whatever, my desired state and stuff. Well, we could also, and it gets a little kooky at this point, but we could also use this same mechanism to talk about social motivation. There's a desired level of intimacy I would like. I'm below that level. I'll do things to raise that level. Oh my God, that sounds like marriage. And so we find that we could talk about there's a desired level of social comfort I want. I'm above that level, don't worry about it. I'm below that level, do something to raise myself above that level. Okay? So it's a good mechanism to help explain all of these. Related to this is this notion of optimum arousal, but I don't know. You know what? I don't think I want to. Some common motives are hunger, thirst, sex, right? But we already said things from Maslow's hierarchy like safety and self-esteem, achievement motivation, things like this. But there's also a motive for control, but there are some incredibly purely social motives as well, like motivations to fit in or stick out. ask an American teenager, and some of them want to fit in and be like everybody else, and some want to be the little freaks and do the little purple hair and whatnot. But they, ironically, they're fitting in too, just with a different group. But anyway, Schadenfreude and this other one. We're going to talk about this very quickly. Um, People are motivated to belong. People are motivated to be understood. People are motivated to have some control. People are motivated to, enhance themselves or to feel good about themselves. People are motivated to trust each other. So these are really, really. I mean, again, it gets a little wacky when I talk about that drive reduction theory, but it makes some sense. Nah, you do that one. Schadenfreude, very cool. A social motivation, a social motivation where you like to, well, delighting in others' misfortune. It's a German word, okay? Delighting in others' misfortune. That we feel good when other people suffer. And this is an interesting thing. Sometimes we're motivated for this because other people are our enemy, and if they suffer, we gain, right? If somebody else stumbles, we look better. All right, if I'm I'm trying to impress a new girl, and my chief rival trips and falls over, and this girl I'm trying to compete for is laughing, I feel very good pleasure at my competitor suffering, right? So it's this notion of social comparison theory. We look better ourselves when other people around us fail. This is very cute. Men, but not women, really enjoy seeing bad people suffer. They've shown, they've set up a thing. This is a bad guy, and men's pleasure centers go, woo-hoo-hoo, that's great. He's a bad person. He deserved it. And so we find that. All right. But the blah, 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 pleasure centers. Oh, I love that. Schadenfreude is correlated with envy, strong feelings of envy. Yeah, when we feel envy, which is related to Schadenfreude because it's when they have something you want. So it's in a lot of ways the same. And in fact, the physical pain centers are active when we experience this social emotion. No, I'm going to have to. You can read these. They're interesting. Face and Keeping Up with the Joneses is a social motive in that we want to look good to others, that we want to live up to our social obligations. We don't have anything quite like this in America exactly. I mean, we have honor, especially down in the South. Not quite the same as face as an Asian culture would define it, but the same basic idea. That it's a sense of intangible. All right, I'm gonna have to stop there because my clock says it's time to go. I will see you back for the second component of chapter 3.